MVP chants the fans were serenading Connor Hellebuyck with on Friday night. And when you take a look at the season he's having framed within the team's success, do you make a case that perhaps this is a year that he really gets serious consideration for Hart?
Yeah, I think there's been other years that he should have gotten and hasn't. I think, sometimes they overlook the goaltending position, I guess, because they have the Vezina. But, I think when you think of MVP, you think of what that player means to the team. And in this sense, the goalie, he's incredible. Every stat, everything I look at, it's, he's top of the league. You know, he gives us a chance to win every night. We're where we're at in the standings largely because of, how well he's played. So, I think that certainly is a deserved chant. I think it's certainly deserved that he belongs in that conversation. Obviously, we have a long way to go, and, we're far off from the end of the year, but, he's had an incredible start. He's had an incredible stretch, and he's had an incredible career. So, I think it's fair that he finally gets recognized and, kind of gets into that conversation. And how that plays out down the stretch, who knows? But I think he certainly deserves that.
Adam, you're no stranger to kind of the shutdown role and going against the other team's best, but we talked to Nikolaj after the game the other day, and he really seemed to relish the opportunity to maybe play a bit of a different role than he's used to. So how did you see that kind of line of you three working, and specifically what Nikolaj was able to do?
Yeah, I thought he did a great job. I think, sometimes I've gone out there and he wants us to hold on to the pucks a little longer, and, I'm making ultra safe plays, and, the whole thing is to not get scored on when they're out there. But, I thought he had a great game. Obviously, that first goal early on, really put us in the driver's seat, but it just plays away from the puck. We talked about staying on top of their speed, and, with McKinnon coming through the ice and McCarr kind of as that second wave of attack. And, he did a great job as F3 or, even when he was F1 or 2, reloading, and just the sorts that he made in the D zone. I think, that's an area that we'll continue working on with him. And, there's different reads that sometimes we will make based on, who you're tight to and things like that. But, I thought kind of going into that game that, we weren't sure how the lines were going to look with Vladdy going out and no Appy. And, I thought he really complimented me and Al. And, he brings a different element. He's highly skilled. He's got great speed. He makes great plays with the puck offensively. But, I think in that game you saw his defensive awareness, the smart, simple plays when he had to. And, yeah, it's nice to see him kind of relishing that role.
When you're able to, get down low and be below your guy, and then you guys win the puck, does a guy with that kind of speed like Ehlers almost give you some more options down ice too, or make some of your breakout reads easier, or is it more complicated because he flies so much, or he can fly, pardon me?
Well, yes and no. I think it's just knowing where he is and kind of the style he likes to play. Like, he does such a good job of pushing out the D-man that sometimes you have more time to skate with the puck underneath, or, he comes back to the puck to support it so well after he's pushed those guys out. And, he's kind of a one-man break-in. So the zone entries and the zone exits sometimes, with his skill and his speed, he can create things out of nothing where, you're kind of a standstill, a battle on the wall, and, all of a sudden he gets his first 2 strides and he beats a guy, and now he, instead of just chipping the puck out, you have a clean exit or you have a clean entry. So, sometimes stylistically, knowing, he stays in motion a little more, he pushes guys out, just knowing the options. But, I've played with Nicky, on the team for so long. Just watching him, you kind of have an understanding of the strengths of his game, and you want to allow him to use those, and that's his speed. That's him carrying the puck and, kind of creating in the O-zone. He likes to go high. He likes to pull defenders out and, kind of use his speed to beat them. And, that's my job to get to the net, retrieve pucks, and, try and get it into his hands as much as we can.
Let me ask you about Al as well. I mean, I think he's one of the underrated guys around the NHL on the forecheck and other things like that. What's he doing well that really adds?
Yeah, well, I think, Al, he's so versatile, but, sometimes when we kind of forget that when we got him, he was playing with Kempe and Kopitar. He was, an ultra sound defensive line, one of the best defensive players in the world in Kopitar, and, highly skilled winger in Kempe, and, he's kind of the guy that does the forechecking. He gets in as F1. He's disruptive. He's got such a good stick. I feel like if you watch him closely, he gets his stick on a lot of things, and then his reads in the D zone are, really good. He's so good at cutting plays off, forcing them back down the wall, and things like that. So, he's a bit of a Swiss Army knife for us. He goes up and down the lineup. He plays on the power plays. Critical on our PK. I think he's a guy that everyone on this team enjoys playing with. He's simple. He's easy to read off of, and he always seems to be in the right spot.
We've seen so much stability with the forward lines this year until recently with some injuries, obviously. Is it a good thing in your eyes that maybe we're getting to see some different permutations here of what lines could look like and what that could potentially mean? Like Scott Arniel said the other day that he was intrigued and it gave him lots to think about after seeing what the other night looked like. So is that a good thing in your eyes?
Yeah, I think the opportunities for guys to step up with guys out of the lineup, like we saw earlier with the guys on the back end, and now as we're getting healthier, Samby slides back into his spot, and the depth on our blue line now looks a lot better, and those guys that had been playing big minutes go back, down a pair or whatnot, and they're playing with a little more confidence. They've learned the systems, whether it's the PK, the PP, and I think those things are invaluable down the stretch. There's going to be injuries, at different times. So getting the opportunity to play with different guys, to see different line combos, I think it is a benefit. Obviously, it sucks to have guys hurt and, guys missing time. But, whether you're flat in a game late in the season, you need to do a flip. There's some familiarity with that. And, you have some looks where you're not just going out just trying to get a read off of a guy that you haven't spent a lot of time with. So, yeah, like you said, there certainly is the benefit to get different looks. Sometimes home versus the road, there's different matchups. There's now different things you can do to kind of manipulate those or spread out kind of how you want the lines to look or the lineup to look. So, yeah, I think – I don't think it was on our bingo card that, Fly was going to be coming to the shutdown line, but he played great, and it certainly gives us another option. And then Nino going, with Fetz and Coop, I thought they generated some good chances, and it gives them a big body to get in on the forecheck, some great finish around the net. So, yeah, I think as it stands, our team looks a little different, but I think what's been critical and for us and for success is the depth we've had up front, and I don't think that's going to change.
Vancouver's coming in, lost 4 or 5. Your first look at them this year. Just kind of your thoughts on what you've seen from afar from that team.
Yeah, I feel like they've been in a ton of games, and then they have a lot of overtime losses or shootout losses, right? So easily could have flipped the script on some of those. I think. When I look at their team as a whole, when they're healthy, they've got great depth up front. Pettersson, Miller, adding DeBrusque, and then Quinn Hughes on the back end. An elite defender. He can move. He plays half the game. It feels like the puck's always on his stick. I was watching the overtime against the Capitals not too long ago, and it felt like he didn't leave the ice. So, it's similar to how Makar plays. He's up in the rush. He's creating on the blue line. He holds on to the pucks. So, we have to be ready for an active back end. A lot of motion in the D zone for us, and they've got some big guys on defense. It's going to they make it hard getting to the net. So, it's going to be important that kind of like the LA game, we find ways to get inside and find ways to get to the net.